I'm going to be showing you all today how I make sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is another example of a food that we eat that is made with fermentation. So traditionally, sourdough just means that there's no commercial yeast used to make the bread. Maybe you've seen this before, maybe you've seen the little packets. So in sourdough, the only raising agent is naturally occurring yeast and bacteria that are found in the air, in the flour, on our hands. So this is my sourdough starter. You can see there's lots of little bubbles in here. That is carbon dioxide that forms from the yeast eating sugars, and they produce carbon dioxide. So that's why we have these little bubbles. This is going to be what provides our bread dough with flavor and strength and structure so that it can rise in the oven and hold that shape. So similar to any baking project, we want to be really precise, and I'm actually going to be using a scale and a thermometer, so I'm going to be extra careful. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to add 200 grams of the starter. So this is the fermented flour and water mixture. Alright, so I'm actually going to save this, feed it more flour and water, discard it, and then I can continue to make bread with it. The next thing that we want is we're going to add our water. And so this bread is just made with the sourdough starter, or culture you might have heard it called, and flour, water, and salt. That's all that you need. Now we have all of the ingredients incorporated into our dough. So this next step is actually going to be about 4 to 6 hours, and this is called the bulk fermentation, and this is just going to allow the dough to ferment and to kind of take on the characteristics that we had in the sourdough starter. So it's going to take on that flavor. This is when the structure is going to develop. And we're not going to knead it during this time, but I'm going to give the dough a few turns, and this will help create that structure. Alright, it's been about a half an hour, maybe a little more. I can already see some bubbles forming at the top of the dough, and it's ready for our first turn. So you can see it's already pretty stretchy. So I'm being pretty gentle with it, but I'm kind of just almost like I was like wrapping a present. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to do that another 3 times probably before this bulk fermentation is done. So I just gave the dough its 4th and final fold, and as you can see, it's a little more uniform now. It looks like all of the ingredients have been really well combined, and when I was folding, it came away from the sides easier, and that's another sign that it's nearing the end of this stage. And you can also see it's just holding its shape after that fold a little bit better. It's like a nice little ball. I did like an initial shaping. I just made them into circles to make it easier to actually shape them now. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm using this dough scraper to help me shape because these are really wet doughs. They have a really high percentage of water in them. Okay, now they are gonna hang out in these baskets actually overnight. I'm gonna put them in the refrigerator and then bake them in the morning. So I'm gonna be using this Dutch oven to cook the bread today. Generally in like commercial bakeries, they are able to inject steam into the oven, which obviously we can't do in our home ovens. So this cooking with something that has a top on it allows some steam to be trapped in, and then we'll take the top off partway through the bake. So we've got a nice dark crust, some bubbles,